Who's next? There is hand. Yes,
I'm Bob Swanson from the Caltrans Tenant organization. I've looked into a lot of the issues we're talking about 238. I talked to the Metropolitan Transportation Commission and basically told me that the road was not necessary. Now, Eileen Weinreb, who was the ex-mayor, has been on the Metropolitan Transportation Commission Board of Directors, and that's one of the reasons why this thing has been kept alive. My feeling is, over the next few years, the next elections that are coming up, the people who are for this road probably will not be in office next election, so therefore we probably won't have to worry about the road coming through our area. And we have also the referendum process. This road, basically, I'm trying to find out who's for it. I'm having a hard time finding out exactly who's for it. I do know the Chamber of Commerce is for it because they see it as a road to bypass downtown Hayward. But according to Metropolitan Transportation Commissions, there's a whole heck of a lot cheaper ways to bypass downtown Hayward. This road is going to be highly expensive. It's going to be going through the hill areas. It costs a lot of money to build a road in a hill like that. I don't think the city of Hayward can afford to do that because they can barely keep their street lights on. So then we start going, okay, now who is it that wants this road? Well, who's going to get the property? The land developer. They're going to get about 200 acres of property, probably at a really good price, and they're going to line the whole front of Hayward with high-density condominiums, which is going to increase the traffic problem. The next thing is the land developers who want to develop the Walford Ridge area up there, which was a rural reserve for so many years, and they paid almost no taxes on the property. And now all of a sudden, they get together with Assemblyman Margaret, who fortunately is no longer in office. He puts together a bill that makes it so they can take this property out of rural reserve that they kept on reserve real cheap for all these years. Now they can develop the area. And one of the things they need is access to this property up there because they've got problems with getting traffic in and out of there. And this road would be fine for it. So basically they want the taxpayers to pay for the land developer's road. And the road has been characterized to me by a lot of people that I've talked to as the land developer's road. Not for the people of the city of Hayward. You think Fairway Park is going to want traffic dumped down into there from high-density condominiums? Do you think there's going to be a lot of opposition to this road? There's very few people that want it. Maybe 10, 12, maybe? You know, very few. And then in response to Mrs. Gallagher over here, whose property was not sold to her or offered to her in the proper ways, Caltrans basically does whatever they want to do. And the attitude that I got from Mr. McKinney in Sacramento, who I was told was head of the right-of-way, he said, Mr. Swanson, if you want any policies changed, you're going to have to force us. I told him, I said, I don't want to have to force you, but by God, the Caltrans Tenant Organization is willing to force them, if necessary, to get fair treatment from Caltrans. And as far as the road goes, I don't think it's going to go through. I think we've got enough smart people in Hayward to stop the thing. So I'm not too worried about it. I want to address a lot of problems that are dealing with some of the people I've talked to in the last few days, some of the older people who are afraid to speak up for fear that Caltrans is going to come down like a ton of bricks. I talked to a gentleman who is from Holland. He can't make it. He's going to the Super Bowl today, or for tomorrow or something. And he told me he was in Holland when the Nazis invaded Holland. And he characterized the attitude that he's had to deal with, and I characterized it as the Nazi occupation of Holland.
That isn't fair. That I'll object to.
Hey, I'm just quoting the judge.
That's not fair. That I object to. When you speak to the truth, I'll listen.
Everybody has
When
a right
you bring in that in this law, that is unethical.
I don't think it's
That is unethical.
I
agree with you. You are making these men.
Everybody has a right.
You have a right to speak, but not unethical. Never unethical. I'll let you speak.
Whoa. Everyone can say whatever they want to say.
And I'm disagreeing. A lot of people have told me that.
Disagree,
I believe me.
Bob, wait. Let's just ask everyone not to shout. You know, I mean, everyone will have an opportunity to say whatever they want to say. I understand how that people disagree, and that's fine. That's how we try to sort out these problems in the democracy is to let everybody speak their mind. And if someone objects, I understand. I thought it was a little overstatement also, but there are a lot of people real upset about Caltrans. I hope we can get to those issues quickly. Yes, go ahead.
Now, as far as, I mean, maybe Nazi occupation is too strong.
Bob,
I mean, I've talked to a whole heck of a lot of very unhappy people who Caltrans is taking advantage of the situation, of an inflationary situation dealing with rents. They found out that they're sitting on a pack of really expensive property, and they found out they can charge more rent for it. For all these years that they've had this property, very little maintenance was done on it. People didn't complain about it, they'd do it themselves or just live in it. Because they had low rents, they didn't want the rents to go up. Well, Caltrans realized, hey, we've got a lot of property here, we can raise these rents and get people out. One of my agents told me that they wanted to get RAP eligible tenants out, and that's one of the reasons why they were raising rents.
you might.
Gentlemen of Caltrans, please, treat us well. I mean, you know, we're people too. Thank you.
Bob has raised 2 or 3 different issues. One which, again, I suppose it needs to be said, will be debated subsequently often, and that is when there's a feasibility study, it's clear what the exact plan is. It will have to be adopted by the Transportation Commission, the council. That's subject to referendum, as Bob had mentioned, and so on. So I hope we can not get so preoccupied about the debate about whether what will happen 5 years from now is good or bad that we miss what's happened during the last 5 years or more. Because that's where I think I can be the most useful. But Bob, you raised the issue of who's for the route, and I think it's probably appropriate to have the city respond very briefly. Alex?
Mr. Swanson, you are a very elegant and articulate speaker, and with a group of very, very strong supporters, you gather a lot of strength. What I would like to say to you that I did an awful lot of walking during my campaign, and I talked to an awful lot of people, and the feeling that I had was that and this is the reason I voted the way I did on this particular situation. If you can prove to me that a majority of the people in the city of Hayward do not want this, bring that kind of proof back, and I'm representing the people of the city of Hayward. I'm not representing Alex Giuliani. I'm not representing a development of any sort, and that's the way I'll vote. But I heard, and I thought I heard very clearly from most of the people in this town, that they were concerned about the traffic situation, that they were concerned about the lack of growth in downtown Hayward, and how we were going to bring some more jobs into this community. And I've been working very diligently to do that. I will continue to do that, but there are a number of things that are necessary that go along with that. Now, at a later time, we would like to clear up some of the issues that we brought this meeting together for in the first place. It was not to debate the viability of the expressway. What happened is we were trying to go along with Mr. Kerrigan to give him some solution for the problems that they claim they face with lack of maintenance or improper maintenance to that property. This was the sole reason for calling this meeting in the first place. At a later time, when we begin to find out whether or not it's even feasible, and that's going to take us the better part of this year to find out whether or not the idea that we have created will really work. Then, at that time, if the majority of the people come to us and say, hey, we don't care whether it works or not, we don't want it, we'll listen. But for the present time being, let's try to clear up some of the problems that they have, and then I'll be very happy. Whatever you want to come to my office, and we'll exchange ideas on